since 1970,
Right.
we've had zero population growth.
Right.
So in as much as everybody wants the bigger house, the X and Y gen people want the bigger house and the newer house, etc., you can only grow so much. You can only expand so much.
On the banking side, Louise, are you more or less reluctant to make a loan if it's new construction? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter?
No, not at all.
What were you just going to say, though?
Well,
You were going
it was a
back.
question I had before when you were talking about buyers wanting something newer and updated.
Right.
You know, that speaks to new construction. So are you seeing your buyers looking for new construction?
You have a couple of different. It goes in the price range. You know, trying to find a house for $100,000 in Syracuse is very limited.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. What's happening is the younger generation are buying like the 185, and they're looking to the 225 range, and some are new construction. Some of the builders are actually kind of bringing them back down to the 1,700 square foot, 1,800 square foot, but that same square footage is completely different than the traditional house because now it's all opened, so the kitchen, family room, sunroom is opened up to the living area where the bedrooms are upstairs, but the lower part of the house is really all entertaining because that's where you're spending 80% of your
And we
time.
have a lot more finished basements than we used to have. I mean, you go into the neighborhoods when we were all growing up, the basement was...
It was a cellar floor.
Yeah, it was a cellar floor.
Washer, dryer.
Now you've got a whole other half a house downstairs.
Yeah, and
So-
they're building walkouts where walkouts
Exactly.
never previously existed.
Right.
They're creating walkout space.
I think you're going to see the builders out there are going to start changing some of the styles of what's out there and making houses more efficient based on their size and what's going on, and I think it's more affordable for some people to get into the marketplace.
Well, perhaps that and the price point as well, because
Yes.
as you said, you know, the large part of the market is, you know, not in that price range.
Right.
You know.
Then just wrap up here then. A little bit more on the inventory side. A few more houses out there. You know, if you're listing, expect to have it on the market a little bit longer.
Well,
A little bit longer.
I don't want that expectation out there. I want to make sure that they've priced it to the market and they've done some good updating to the house. And even that you can put a new kitchen floor down, a new vinyl floor down for maybe $1,000 or $2,000, and that little bit of a change is going to make your house sell faster, as long as you don't overprice it.
Yeah, last one. You guys must look at trends and whatnot. Are people, you know, still sort of gravitating? I don't. It's not even a trend anymore. But are we still looking to move out into the suburbs? Where do people want to be? Are there hot spots in Central New York?
Well, I think I think there are hot spots. I think you're seeing a lot of growth out to the suburbs, but to me, it's Fayetteville, DeWitt, compared to Syracuse is very unique. We're a 20-minute city. You can be across from Fayetteville over to Baldwinsville in 20 minutes. We're pretty fortunate. I think you're going to see more growth coming back in towards the
And there's
core.
significant growth down in the Armory now.
It's
not rolling.
The urbanization of Central New York
Absolutely.
we're in it right now. We've helped people move from DeWitt or from Camillus to Mission Landing or to Plum Court.
Right.
We've helped people move from Pulaski into the Syracuse area. So that it's coming back in. We have a great culture in Syracuse. We'd like to see downtown get rebuilt up, but it's a slow process, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Syracuse is ready for that downtown to happen.
I think it has been for some time. All right, Louise, let's talk about money for a minute or two, okay? There are options out there, obviously. I mean, I remember, years ago we did the first real estate show. I mean, there weren't, even then, all these different interest-only type things. Are people more or less sort of falling back on the traditional 30-year mortgage, maybe 15 or 20? Is that more of what you're seeing people asking for here?
Yes, I think that's true. I think that there was that people are frightened, of the interest-only products.
There were some crazy products out there, wasn't there?
Crazy products. They want stable products, but in this area, I don't think we ever really. I think people are more conservative in this area, so I don't think that they were really prevalent here.
Obviously. The four of us sitting here are waiting for you to answer this question. Interest rates are going up when?
I was hoping you'd answer that question.
Oh, good for you. Touche. But assuming that we see some increase in rates at some point, are there ways that, Chip has a potential buyer? Can you hedge it? Can you lock in something? How long will you hold a rate, I guess is what I'm saying.
On a standard purchase, 60 days. On new construction, 240 days. So So that's a standard, time frame. So
and that's going to change. The interest rates going up is going to change the dynamics again, because the affordability of the house that you were for the $150,000 house that you were going for at a lower interest rate is now down.
But Tom, initially it's going to be more psychological than anything. Rates are as low as they've been in 5,000 years. So if they go up a quarter point, it's just going to be more of a psychological hit. But
but you never just go up a quarter point.
Yeah.
The Fed raises it a quarter, a half, and then they sit and they say, what do we just do to the economy? By that time, mortgage rates are going to have gone up. And if mortgage rates have gone up 2%, I used to be able to qualify for a $200,000 loan. Maybe I can only get a $175,000 loan. My tastes haven't changed any. I still like the $200,000. So that $200,000 might have to come down in price.
Who's talking?
I don't have the statistics on it, but interest rates have been rather low for several years now.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a mindset there, on the part of borrowers.
Which brings up another question. I mean, if you haven't refinanced by now and you have a high interest rate mortgage, do I dare ask, what are you waiting for? Or
what are you waiting for?
I mean, has everybody refinanced? Have you seen refinance?
We're always fascinated by how many people seem to live under a rock, because we're seeing regular new mini waves of refinance.
But why? Why is that?
Occurring.
I mean, it seems so plain. You got it. I'm making this up, Seth, but you got an 8% mortgage. You're paying X. You could literally cut that rate in half.
But there are so many people who can't get out of their own way on many different levels.
Is that it?
And there are many people who just need a little bit of a nudge. Maybe just need to be at the right place at the right time in their bank and say, you know what, today's the day that I'm going to walk over from here to that desk and say,
need to be watching
please
this
give me
show.
a new loan.
Right.
Well,
For some reason, a light bulb seems to go off.
Yeah,
but it's also,
I don't know
it
how you
also
miss
comes
it.
to the piece where, can they? Maybe financially they can't at that point in time because they could be in trouble already, and they have to clean some things up before they get there.
Which leads Danny wonderfully in the new segue into the
wow, you could be sitting
program.
here.
That's
You could be
right.
sitting here. Yeah, I think so. I think we can move into that because it really is more or less a sign of the times. We didn't talk ever on the show about foreclosure, and what have you. Seth, I'll have you start it because I'd like to get some definitions first. Foreclosure, short sale, what are we talking about?
Well, just to keep it simple, you have an individual who's an owner of a piece of property who is having difficulty with making their payments. So you have the primary analysis first starts as to whether or not they can continue making their payments, or is there just no hope at all? Is it such that they should remain in that house from an affordability standpoint, or should they finally start looking at maybe alternatives, which may be hard for them to chew on, but should they look at the possibility of selling the house and renting? Are they upside down on that mortgage? Meaning, is the house worth $100,000 and the mortgage is $120,000, or God forbid, $180,000, and all of that comes into play. That individual who may be having trouble may be continuing to make their payments and may be on time with their payments, but may be recognizing that everything else in their life is being allowed to go to pot. So there's a whole bunch of, with the economic stimulus package, there's a whole bunch of relatively new federal regulation. There's HAMP, which is the Housing Affordable Mortgage Program, and there's HAFA, which is the Housing Affordable Foreclosure Program. Both of those were intended to allow people who were in trouble financially to look at various alternatives, one being the ability to possibly modify their existing loan, having the program change so that the interest rate is lowered or the payment structure is lowered.
And I've got a graphic coming up on that in just a second, but just quick, either of you, again, just define foreclosure is when the bank knocks on the door, correct?
When you're in default over a period of time that may vary from bank to bank, a bank is going to say, okay, it's time for us to look at possibly trying to rescue ourselves, take back this asset, which they have a security interest in, which is the house, and there's a process. And under the new regulations, they're now very much restricted in terms of how they have to go about that, what they have to do relative to communication with the borrower, relative to the offering of counseling and other programs to assist the borrower.
Are you seeing many properties going foreclosure here lately? Central New York?
Not that many. We're seeing more short sales happen.
All right, so give me a definition on short sale, too.
Short sale, they owe more than what they can sell their house for.
To Seth's